on the flat cap. And hello, welcome back. Sorry about that, little dude's mic had a bit of problems. We're here live in the flat cap and whippet, joined again by my two esteemed grumpy fellows, and we're basically going to just talk the talk. We've got a lot of topics planned, and we're obviously really excited about getting started. What we're drinking, gentlemen? What we're drinking?
Well, I've got today. I've got birds and bees. There you go.
Birds and bees. Oh, okay, all right.
Birds and bees, which is a golden summer ale.
A golden summer.
Which I thought.
You know, it's the middle of winter,
I
don't
thought
you?
I would drink it tonight, being as we've been snowed in for 3 weeks, and the temperature is due to go down to -10 tomorrow night. I thought it doesn't look like I'm going to get to drink it anytime soon if I wait for the summer. So I thought I'm going to drink it now. So there you go. That's what I'm on.
Sounds like a plan, Mr. D. Graham. What are you drinking?
I put my dog mask on, gentlemen, because I've been in the doghouse today.
Oh.
I didn't get all my chores done. But anyway, I am drinking tonight Lidl's Finest. I don't know if you can see that. I cannot pronounce it. It's called Lösche or something. But it's not a bad little snifter, as it were.
Was it Lidl's slogan? Apparently, you'd shop at Lidl's because life didn't go too well. Is that right? It didn't go as you planned.
I don't follow you there.
That was a joke.
Anyway, cheers, gentlemen.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, cheers.
Right. Well, I'm just to let you know what I'm drinking. I'm drinking Corona because it's still on special. I don't know why, but people don't want to drink it. No idea why that's
Eric,
the case.
you were drinking that. Eric, you were drinking that last week. You need to expand your horizons a bit. You're becoming a boring old bastard.
Well, that's it. Anyway, I'm going to start this afternoon with a rant.
Can I, Eric? Before you start, Eric, can I just say that countdown before we went live there was very exciting. It was the most exciting thing that had happened to me today, possibly this week actually.
It made me feel like. Can I get into the flow? Like, I mean, did it get a little bit, get your juices flowing, so to speak?
It made me feel like I was an astronaut on the space shuttle, about to be blasted off from Cape Canaveral. That's what it made me feel like. And I know how those guys feel now.
And can I just say, the choice of music, I hold my hands up. You were right. I mean, the audience last week were right. They were right, but I thought it was a better lead-in tune than the one we had previously. But I like to admit when I'm wrong. Well, I don't actually. That's a lie. But I'll admit when I'm wrong.
Very good. Well, remind me again. Who was it?
It's bear in mind. Remember when I used to do all the videos of me cars? I used to have to try and find creative tracks to try and create that ambulance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ambulance.
So,
the right music's important. But anyway, back to you, Eric. Let's kick things off.
I used to love watching your car videos. They were very entertaining. I mean, I know I never actually bought one, but I used to like watching them.
Well, we're talk about Graham's sales technique.
That's not quite true. That's not quite true. I once bought a Jeep off you. Remember that big green Jeep?
Oh yes, I do remember that. Yeah.
Fine vehicle it was as well. It lasted me a long time. In fact, it's that has the distinction of being, I think, the only car that I've had in the last 20 years that was actually that I actually managed to sell to somebody else when I finished with it, rather than it just going down the scrapyard. So that's how tough it was. So, yeah, very impressive.
Well, maybe talk about Graham's
biscuits as well whilst we're doing this. I'm having a bit of applewood smoke.
Biscuits and beer.
Applewood smoke. Yeah. Cheese and biscuits and beer goes together very well.
Pork scratchings, a bit of pig's backside, especially the hairy bits. But
no, things have moved on, Eric.
Anyway, we'll talk about Graham's sales technique.
I've got applewood smoke and black crowdy tonight.
Well, Ian clearly wants the limelight. You carry on, Ian.
Very nice. Well, I've got my mouth full now. Sorry.
Okay, right. Okay. So what I was going to say.
I've got a
we'll
combination. I've got a combination of applewood smoked and black crowdy. Black crowdy is a local cheese. It's very, very nice. I can totally recommend it if you can find it.
a local cheese. Well, see
Yeah.
the fact that you said local cheese, it's going to be local to you, isn't it?
Well, exactly, yeah. So you might find it a bit tricky to get hold of.
Anyway, we'll talk about him down there. I keep pointing the wrong direction. Him down there. We'll talk about his sales technique later. But I want to start this week with a rant. And I'm going to bring back a topic we've done before. And the topic we're going to bring back, it's going to take a little bit of doing this because it's very technical. I don't want to bore you guys with it, but this is technical, right? So I'm going to bring back the topic. Once I get me topics, hold on. Just talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to bring back the topic. No accountants of technology.
Is this going to be something spurgy?
Well, no, you see, what it is. I'm going to do a couple of diagrams because I've noted, because I do note these.
Eric, I'm losing interest already.
Well, I'm sorry, but you have to bear with me because we've had a bit of an issue this week, all to do with trying to explain.
Eric, hang on, wait a minute. Before you go any further, can you just reassure me here? Are you going to show a PowerPoint? Because if you're going to show me a PowerPoint, I'm going now.
Oh no, it's not PowerPoint. Oh, we've gone beyond PowerPoint. Hold on for a second. I just want to do it. It's only going to be 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. I think we need to put this to bed because what's starting to happen is people just generally aren't getting the gist of it, right? So I mean, we haven't got many. We've got a few people on, so they'll probably benefit from this as well. So we're going to flick to a different screen altogether now. This is what I call with share screen. Lovely little mountain. Well, no, it was a mountain thing. I'm going to talk you through some quite basic concepts because this week Graham struggled with some basic concepts about how this live streaming works. And because you and I are teachers, Ian, I thought I'd do a little lecture on how to do a live stream, right? So here we go. Right, so we're going to just do a little bit of work here. So we're going to start off with very simple drones. We're going to do, this is Eric's computer. There you go. Eric's computer just there. Look, that's it. There's a little computer. I'll put on here Eric's.
Ian, he's just showing off now, isn't he?
This is important. I mean, it's going to be rough drawn, but you get the idea. This is Eric's computer, right? Now, you two, right, are what we call guests. You're guests on the live stream, right? So we'll put you there as guests. You both come into my computer, right, from over here, over that side of the screen, and you both come into my computer as guests on a very special link. Nobody gets that link. Only you two get the link. Just do it there, right? So you're both sitting, coming into my computer through my Wi-Fi. You're with me, so And then what happens? I send out a live stream. Oh, I've made a mistake there. Look, see, I can't do it. I can't do it live. I'll just get rid of that bit. I send out a live stream. Here's one I prepared earlier. Right? And that live stream goes to a thing called Restream, right? And then it goes off to two places. One being, it'll take a little catch up. There you go, YouTube, which people will be maybe watching on now. And
Eric, your writing's worse than my bloody doctor.
I know, but it's it's technology, right? And then look, this pen's not working now. Look, see, you see what you're doing now? Just let me get on in D Live. Now, between the two, there's a 7. Hello, people out there watching. 8 people watching. We've got 8 viewers. Hello, there, 8 people watching. There's a 7-second delay, so they're not going to hear me say hello, people watching until a few seconds from now. Then they'll get the information. Right now, if they decide to comment. And feel free to comment, people. If you're watching this, the 8 viewers that are watching this at the moment, they can comment. And that comment comes from them and goes back into my computer instantaneously. It comes back to me. And then I can then send it out again, but there's another 7-second delay. Now, Ian, being a teacher, will tell you that 7 and 7 make 14. So that's about 14 seconds. Now, that's not the bit I want to really talk about. Each of these here have a link. And you just give people the link to go to. And I noted on Facebook that Graham posted a couple of messages on Facebook and got the link wrong. How can you get the link wrong?
How could I? I went to the thing and then I copied it from the top, from the address bar.
I've no idea, but I clicked on a couple links you posted, and they were just wrong. Even when I sent you the links and put them on your Facebook page, they were wrong. One more quick point. Now, this one's called. Just to get here.
Eric, can I ask you a question, Eric?
It has to be said. There's a thing called a text.
I need to ask you a question, Eric.
Sorry?
I need to ask you a question.
Go on.
Right, are you ready? Right. So, how long ago was it when you actually did a lesson?
Yesterday.
Oh, it's a serious question.
Yesterday.
Because I have to say that I see little evidence of a lesson objective being made clear at the beginning of this.
Oh, right. Now you see, it was a hidden objective. Either. It was a hidden objective because I wanted to get best. Sorry, go on.
Hidden objectives don't cut the mustard anymore, Eric. I'm afraid that I have to say it was an unsatisfactory lesson.
I'm going to make a difference between messages and text, because when Graham sends me a message, God knows where it goes to. Because either WhatsApp, text message, or Facebook, no idea. I did a video a few years ago. Anyway, that's me rant over, so I do apologise, people. If anybody makes any comments, I'll put the comments up. In fact, let me get my comments window ready. And we'll kick off with the first
problem.
I beg your pardon?
And solve your problem, Eric. See, when Graham sends you messages, the reason it gets lost is because your system's too complicated. What you need is one of these. Right? If you get yourself one of them, and if you get one with extra large buttons like I've got as well, then you don't need to wear your glasses either when you're looking at it. Right? And the battery lasts for a month in one of these in between charges. So and it's much smaller, you can fit it in your pocket, and it only costs 10 quid.
Right, well, I'm going to do a couple of shout outs. We've got a few people on here in the chat. We've got a couple of shout outs here. So from D-Lab, whoever this chap is, yeah. And I've got finally turned on the mic. Sorry about that. I had a few problems with mic. See, people are too quick to criticise out there. They're just too quick to criticise. Oh, and we've got Kathy McCarrigan. Jimmy, the bus driver's in the house. Here's a note of thought, right? And Jimmy will back me up on this if he's watching live. Did you know, here's a thought, that buses in Mid Lothian and East Lothian and Edinburgh are longer than ours?
I didn't know that, no.
Well, if you ever go to Edinburgh and watch a bus, it's a whole window longer than they are in the North East. And if you don't believe me, Jimmy will comment at some point and actually clarify that is the case. So, Jimmy, if you can clarify these two gentlemen that you've got longer buses up there in East Lothian, that would be great. That'd be great, right? We've got Mr. Borthwick in the house as well. He's in the house, so say hi to Mr. Borthwick. He's saying hi, guys.
Eric.
And we've got
Eric's not the kind of guy you want to get sat down next on a bus. I mean, he was wearing a dirty mat last week, and this week he counts windows on buses. I mean, hey, that would be an exciting road trip, wouldn't it be?
Excuse me. I'm observant. That's what all it is. I'm observant, and what I noticed was the buses.
I've been counting windows on buses.
They're it wasn't bigger windows. I'm saying the longer buses. They've got an extra window. Anyway, a few more shout outs. We've got another shout out here. We've got a shout out for Tucker. Here you go, that's Mr. Borthwick. I've just put that one up. We've got another one here. So, evening. So, Big Trev. Anyone know Big Trevs? We've got a Big Trev on here. We've already done what we're drinking. I'm drinking the COVID. We've done that one. So, you'll get that in about 7 seconds. We've done COVID. And we've got Jimmy, the bus driver. Jimmy is in the house. So that's Jimmy there, the bus driver. He is in the house. So Jimmy, one clarification that your buses are bigger up your part of the world. Right, so we've got a couple of that here. No drinking enough. We think we've had enough beer. Any other comments? I'm looking for. There we go. Oh, that's a bit of a damning. That's a bit of a damning comment, isn't it? What do you mean? Oh, happy birthday, Mrs. By the way, Jimmy. I forgot to mention yesterday to Kathy that happy birthday to Kathy. All right. Oh, look, hey, that's not quite the answer I wanted, like, but you know, at least we're saying that everything in Scotland is longer, including the dole queues probably at the end of this COVID. But that's another issue. So there you go. We've got dual queues. And when Mr. Tucky's actually talking about taxi Tucker. What's that about? Is that some reference?
It was something we might touch on tonight, Eric. It was a little bit of a funny story about taxis, and in particular a taxi driver. But I don't know, have we got that down on the list tonight?
Well, it kind of come up on the comment there. So if you want to talk about taxi drivers, have you got something that you're going to share? I mean, is it going to be an entertaining story? Because I mean, the couple of ones you shared last week, you know.
Well, that's the general bloody idea, isn't it?
Right. Let's not get into any arguments, because people don't tune in for arguments, you know. They tune in for entertainment or just watch us three drink beer. I'm not quite sure which. If you've got a story about taxi drivers, you knock yourself out, son. You talk about taxi drivers.
Well, remember last week we talked about football briefly and we'd been to Prague.
Whoa. Banned subject.
I'm not getting into football. All I'm saying is we had been, as a collective group of daft lads, we'd been to Prague, correct?
This is true.
Correct.
Well, for those that maybe aren't aware, Prague, in where is it? It's Eastern Europe, isn't it?
Czechoslovakia.
He's not a teacher like us in Czechoslovakia or Czech Republic.
Strangely enough, I was good at physics when I was crap at geography. But anyway, Prague is not part of the EU mechanism. So unlike the rest of the Europe at the time and now, there weren't euros. They have their own currency still, which I believe is called, however it's pronounced, Krona or Krona. Is that right?
I don't know. Somebody Google it. Thanks, Jimmy. Jimmy's actually correcting you. Just saying the Czech Republic. He is correcting you. 7 seconds after we've had the conversation, but there you go. He's correcting you. So thanks for that, Jimmy. Appreciate it. So here's Czech Republic.
Well, you're right on the currency, Graham, if I remember rightly, because
I think
when I was a little kid, I used to collect stamps, and as a result of collecting stamps, then I became quite good on knowing what all the currencies were in the European countries, because they all had them printed on the stamps, which was quite handy. But there you go. People don't collect stamps. Kids don't collect stamps these days.
That speaks volumes now, that, you know. I mean, the fact that you've just identified you used to collect stamps, that just says it all.
It was good. They were beautiful, because, you know, there are these lovely pictures on them, and it would enable you as a little kid to find out all these countries in the world that they came from, because you got a stamp from somewhere and you go and look it up to find out where it come from, and then you go and look at what the design on it or the picture was on it, and it tell you, you know, all these interesting things about the country. So it was fascinating. I've still got my stamp album somewhere. I don't know. It might even be worth a few quid these days. There you go.
I feel a need for these intervals, like a test, you know, like the test score thing that comes up and just cut your camera off and just go off for a bit.
All right.
Go back again. No.
Eric, it's that music from Vision On that you want.
Do. I think it'll be copyrighted, but there you go. Anyway, back to Graham and his taxi driver in Czech Republic story. Off you go.
So, it might not have been that exact trip, or it may have been when we were over there on our motorcycles here, Eric. But anyway, you will remember we actually did draw some cash out, because it was handy just to have a couple of readies, because that's what you had to have.
I do remember.
Well, when I came back, I still had some of this money and the notes in my wallet. Now, it was a couple of weeks after we got back. We'd arranged to meet the lads in Newcastle. So we went down, we had a cracking all night and a few sherbets, as you do. And it's, you know, sometimes it's a bit of a struggle getting a taxi, but I phoned my local taxi company up, and within 2 minutes he was there. Spot on. He must have been in town, I guess, right? Anyway, a lovely fella. I'm a little bit squiffy. All the way back down to Newcastle. Sorry, down to the coast here where I live, from Newcastle. And I get talking to this taxi driver. And we're having a bit banter, you know.
Did you do the classic? Did you say, have you been busy?
Have you been busy today?
You've always got to do, have you been busy?
Well, he probably was. I don't think they're very busy at the minute, bless them. But So having a bit of crack on the way back, and he says the conversation turned to holidays and stuff like that. He says, "Oh, I'm away on holiday in 2 weeks' time." I says, "Oh, really? Where you going?" "Prague." I went, "Oh, really?" I said, "Funnily enough, me and my pal have just come back from Prague. We went on our motorbikes around Europe, and that was one of the places we went." Right. So I said, "You do realise, or you do know, I'm sure, that it's not part of the EU, so it's not euros. So don't go and get euros from the post office or whatever." "Oh, I didn't know that. No, I didn't know that." I said, "Actually," and we're getting nearer and nearer to my house. I get my wallet out and I said, "Actually, I think I've still got a few notes left from when we were there. I'm not going back anytime soon, so, you know, they're no good to me." So I pulled a 100 krona note out that I still had in my wallet. And I said, and we're getting nearer and nearer to my place, I said, "Well, here, you can have it because you're going to Prague. It's no good to me. I'm not going back anytime soon." And he went, "Really? What?" I said, "Yeah, have it, have it." He said, "Well, what's that worth?" I said, "Well, I don't know what the exchange rate at the minute is, but I 50 quid or something like that." He went, "Really?" So when we got to my front door, I said, "Hey, thanks, you turned up dead quick. It was great. I'm home, marvellous," because the weather was a bit naff that night. He said, I said, so what about owe you?" And he's looking at this note in his hand and he's looking at me and he went, 50 quid. I said, "Aye." So he says, "Oh, gives a fiver." I went, "Aye, righto." Well, I made sure he popped around the corner, not in front of my house. Anyway, gets off he goes, and I walks down the street round the corner, and I'm home, right? 100 krona note worth about £2.50. So I got a cheap taxi fare back from Newcastle for about 7 quid. And every time I get a taxi from that same company now, I'm always petrified because he was a big lad. He's going to get me, he's going to kick me butt. Every time he comes round now, I'm like that fella with the twitchy curtains. "My name's Michael Caine. I'm a nosy, that guy, you know." But cracking end of the night, though. £7.50. It's normally about 30 quid. But I'm going to be careful I don't bump into him again.
So you've just gone live on the whole world that you diddled a taxi driver out of his hard-earned cash.
Nobody knows where I live, and I didn't mention the taxi company.
Well, I know where you live.
It's a dirty trick. I'm disappointed in you, Graham.
So somebody says you keep freezing, Graham. Well, that goes without saying to me. I think because I live in a small village, and I explained for those that weren't on the live stream before, and I'm connecting with you with the camera, is I live in a little village, and I'm miles away from anywhere. And the old probably people are watching Coronation Street and neighbours and not neighbours, what they call it, EastEnders and that kind of thing. So I've got these two fellas coming into my computer and I'm being live streamed out on a 1.5 bandwidth going out 1.5 meg. So we might have to get a little bit of freeze. And I appreciate that's a bit techie talk for you too. 1.5 gigabytes of upload, but you know that's just how things are. So if you did freeze, you've still got the audio.
Eric, I'm not as daft as you think. I mean, my RAM's had a right good BIOS today.
Your RAM's had a right good BIOS. Well,
talking
Oh, damn. Have I left the door open again?
Is that you?
I've left the door open again, sorry.
Well, just go and sort that out. Anyway, stop talking about RAMs, because every time we talk about RAM, we'll probably Anyway. Moving on. Anyway, so taxi drivers, we're done. I mean, I like to play taxi drivers. I think I was in somewhere like what do you call it? Oh, Sunny Beach. That was it, Sunny Beach. And there's a line of taxi drivers. And when Jimmy, we mentioned because Jimmy's on here, we'll have to congratulate him that Scotland apparently. We don't do sport on this channel, Jimmy. But Scotland beat England in something. I don't know what they beat them in, but they beat England in something today because I saw that on Facebook. Anybody know what they beat them in?
I think it was rugby, wasn't it?
It was a rugby, right? Okay, well done for doing that rugby thing. Anyway, I was in Sunny Beach, and I think you get a bit of a bargain as you do, you know. And there was a whole taxi rank, and I was basically wanting to go for about 5 miles or 5-6 miles downtown. And I go to the first guy. I says, "How much do you go here?" Because you can do it with Google now. You know exactly what the 4 things are. I said, "How much do you go here?" He said, €30. I went, €30. I'll come back. And I went to the bloke behind him. And the guy was looking in his mirror, and I says, "How much to go down to such and such?" He says, "I'll do for 25." I says, "All right, I'll come back to you." And I went to the third guy in the row. I says, "How much?" He says, "I'll do it for 20." I says, "Do it for 15." I says, "And I'll go with you." He says, "Whoa," and he hummed it on. He says, "I'll do it for 15." I says, "I'll come back to you." So I went and broke the back to the bloke in the front and said, "I bloke 3 down there, I'll do it for 15. If you do it for 10, I'll take it to cab now." And I got the trip for €10. How's that for a bit of wheeling and dealing? But there you go. Anyway, so taxi drivers is now off the list. We've done taxi drivers. So the other one, let's have a look. What else have we got on the list? Any favourites? This is one of Ian's, really. I suppose it's an interesting one. I've got a little bit of work to do, Ian, so bear with me, because we're going to actually put this label up here. And it actually says... a bit on here. We should have prepared this beforehand. Like you say, when I used to be a teacher, we obviously used to prepare things beforehand, but we haven't here. And the comment is going to be, here we go. Are you ready? I've lost me thing. It's top stars in crap cars, which I do believe, Mr. Ian, is one of yours. So where are you going with this one? Where are you going with the top stars in the crap cars?
No, I was thinking pop stars, Eric. Pop stars from back in our era, when we were teenagers. What were the girly pop stars that really did it for you? And the reason I was thinking
that, let me just correct that one.
I was talking to some young kids, some 16, 17-year-olds, 16, 17-year-old lads the other day,
right?
And they were asking me, what was the hottest chicks of my day when I was their age. And the one outstanding one for me, the one that was head and shoulders above all others, and I've been in love with ever since, still am, even though she's knocking on a bit now, was Debbie Harry out of Blondie. Remember Debbie Harry and Blondie?
Yeah, wasn't me. Didn't like the Dirty Blondes. I put in there pop stars to be old buggers new. Wasn't one of my favourites. Wasn't one of mine, but I can see. I mean, Kim Wilde. Now you're talking.
Now you look at Debbie Harry when she was doing what was it, Denise, that song that they did in 1979.
She's probably got problems with her knees now.
She looks like a teenager there. She was 33 when she did that.
33.
She looked absolutely amazing. 33 when she did that. Yeah.
So it'll be me knees now, is it? It'll be me knees, probably be hip, and a few other bits and pieces. Instead,
no, it left a. I tell you what, it left quite an impression on me because it was one day back in 1979, summer 1979, and my school cricket team was playing a match against Durham Public School. You know Durham Public School? And Durham Public School is like really posh.
right.
If you haven't been there, I mean, it wasn't the sort of place that we normally play cricket matches against. And our cricket matches normally we didn't have any audience at all. There was maybe like a bloke walking his dog and a couple of seagulls, and that would be it. And we turned up at Durham Public School, at their cricket ground there, and it was absolutely beautiful. Sun's beating down, and there were hundreds and hundreds of people in the crowd. I mean, we couldn't believe it. We'd never played against anything like that before. Anyway, Durham went into bat first, and I was feeling it out on the boundary, and one of their batters slugged this ball that went absolutely up into orbit. And it was the sort of ball that when you're 14, 15 years old, you think you're not going to bother trying to catch that, it's just going to hurt. But because there was all these parents sitting around the boundary there, I thought I've got to make some sort of effort. You can't just walk away from it. So I positioned myself roughly under where I thought it was going to drop, and it was coming straight out of the sun, and it went straight between my fingers and hit me between the eyes. It knocked me out. I was flat out on the pitch. And what was even worse, it bounced off my forehead and went for 4 runs as well over the boundary. So after that, we came into bat, and I was still a bit groggy after being smacked on the head and knocked out. So I wasn't going to bat at all. But they had a couple of demon fast bowlers that were ripping through our batsmen. So I had to get my stuff on and go out the bat. And in those days, we used to have these plastic boxers on that you shoved down the front of your underpants. So I stuck my box in before I went out the bat there. But because I was a bit groggy, I didn't get it on properly. And the edge of the box was right over the middle of one of my bollocks. So I got out into the middle of the pitch there, faced a couple of balls from this demon fast bowler that I didn't even see. And the next one hit me right in the nuts. And the edge of the box just about sliced my bollock in half. And I collapsed on the pitch, vomited all over the place, and had to be carried off. And the next thing, my bollock swelled up. It was like, it went purple and it was the size of a potato. So they called an ambulance. And as they're putting me in the back of the ambulance and driving me away, Blondie was playing Denise over the tannoy system. And I always remember that, listening to that whilst looking under the blanket at my bollock that was this like enormous, great purple swollen thing. And there you go, it left a big impression on me.
I've seemed to have frozen for some reason, but we'll see if I'll come back again at some point. So I am moving on my camera, but I've got this stuck face at this point. We'll see if I get come back again. And somebody else, I think Jimmy is saying that Jet from Gladiators was his thing. That's what he was saying. Jet from Gladiators.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I remember it.
So I'm just going to turn my camera off again. See if I can get it to
Hello,
come
boys.
back on. But there you go. Right, so I'm going to just do a little bit of playing over the camera, see if I can get my camera to come back on because it's stuck a bit. So, there's Andy saying hello to Shelley in the background. It is. There's no women in the bar. No, you should not know that. There's no women in the bar. You're only allowed in the lounge.
I'm only getting him his beer.
It's the old flat cap. It's an old man's bar. You only allowed women in the lounge, not in the bar. I'm afraid that's the rules. That's the rules. Oh, I've really crashed here.
Does that still happen anywhere in the northeast?
I'm not sure.
It does.
We could talk about that. Oh, we've got a few more from Jimmy. Jimmy's saying, "Oh, they're not pop stars with Jimmy, but Kate Jackson a pop star?"
Now you're talking.
Yeah.
Jimmy, you're talking.
I fancy the dark-haired one, Sabrina Duncan.
Sabrina.
That was Kate Jackson. That was Kate Jackson, Graham. Yeah. Farrah Fawcett was my favourite.
Farrah Fawcett.
And my mate Brian. My mate
Who
Brian,
was
who was my best mate at the time. He liked the other one, Jacqueline Smith.
Kate Jackson. That's right. Who was Sabrina Duncan?
Darcy.
I'm gonna try and set my camera away again because I've definitely frozen. I might have to do a little bit of changing camera to come back on again. So you just talk amongst yourselves, boys. I'm gonna sort my camera out.
That looks better.
Right, Farrah Fawcett with your classic California blonde. Big blonde hair, lots of teeth. Yeah, cracker she
Good.
So it's over to you, Grim. You're gonna have to talk about your crap cars.
Darcy.
The first car I ever had was a Triumph Spitfire. I bought this old crappy Spitfire back now. I think I paid 90 quid for it, but it was a proper fixer-upper. But at the time, my pal worked for an engine company. Well, I think if I remember rightly, the Spitfire had a 1500cc engine. But my pal Peter, who sadly were lost at quite a young age, in fact, we lost him when I think he was about 21. He worked for an engine company, and he says, well, while you're doing the bodywork up, get the engine out. And they were dead easy to get out. They're not like modern cars. I mean, they had like the old carburetors and all this kind of stuff. But
we'll get a few more.
He did the engine up and he put Hepalite racing pistons in and all this kind of groovy stuff. And it took me 6 months in between work commitments. And then I ended up with this gorgeous little bright red Triumph Spitfire, which was probably ultimately about 1700 cc's when it was all done and finished. And I just loved that car to bits. It was just my pride and joy. It was fantastic. But sadly, they're a bit rot boxes.
I'm back. Back. Sorry, I missed all that. I was too busy sorting my camera out. Having technical issues. I do apologise. All the
What
seven
happened to your
viewers we've
Spitfire
got.
in the end, then, Graham?
Sorry, go on, Ian.
Say again.
What happened to your Spitfire in the end?
Well, I guess, there's not a great deal of room on a little flipping Spitfire, even though I am a little fella. And, you move on in life and you need a bigger car to carry your crap around. And it was pretty much knackered by that point because they are rust buckets. And then I moved on to an Alfa Romeo.
We've lost Ian. We'll just have to go. He's back again. What happened there? We're playing with technical problems today. Anyway, we've got a few people that I'm referring to. We'll go to the top star in a minute. We've got Jimmy talking about Tina Turner. She looks a bit crap now, but back in the day. So
I saw somebody had up just before Eric. Somebody had Linda Carter.
Linda Carter
up there. Yeah.
Shout out to Geordies 69. Linda Carter.
She was something else. She still looks amazing today. I saw a picture of her the other day. I mean, she's probably had a bit of a surgery or whatnot, but she still looks bloody good.
When you also got Purdy, Joanna Lumley when she was knocking about, there you go. That was good. And who was the other one that people put up? There was Linda Carter, Purdy. Yeah, we've done all them. And Mr. Borthwick is talking about, did the Spitfire have an overdrive switch? As Jimmy is asking. Grim.
No, they I don't think they were on the Spitfires. I think they were on the MGs, the MGBs, especially the GT. That had the overdrive, but the Spitfire didn't know.
There you go.
I had an MG midget, which I think had the same engine as your Spitfire. It was the 1500 twin carb engine. It was pretty
should we take a little bit of a vote because I reckon I'm going to beat the lot of you. I built and ran 3 Robin Reliance.
Cool.
Before I was 21, before I did my car test, and there was a little bloke, a little guy called, he was called Jimmy, strange enough. He had a little place near the Tyne Bridge by Rooney's scrapyard in the underpass, and he used to build and sell Robin Reliance and Regals and Rialtos. And every winter, I'd go down, I'd put an old car together, chassis, engine, a lot, and I'd drive for the entire winter. And I'd get it nice and clean, I'd give it back, and he'd sell it as an old car. So I'd build a car, run it for the winter, and then give it back, a Robin Reliant. And back then I was working for the youth service, and there was a youth service, a youth club I used to work in doing the teams. And I came out, and the kids had picked the car up and put it between the door and the brick wall of the youth centre, with only about this much gap either side, a couple of inch gap either side. So they'd actually picked the car up and dumped it, and all buggered off. So my car had to sit there for 2 days until I got somebody lifted back out again. So I reckon I win the crappiest car ever had, or 3 of them. One was blue, one was Go Faster red, and I actually did one purple. Because if you're going to run Robin Line, purple's the colour.
Wow. My mate Graham.
Yes, a bit like Yates independent traders. That'll be me.
Not this Graham, but another mate of mine called Graham had a I'm trying to remember what it was. It was around the time that the Robin Reliance were out. There was another 3-wheeler as well. I can't remember what it was, but he had one of those, and it was Matt Gray. And I remember the first day I met him, he gave me a lift from Whitley Bay up the coast road in it. And it had no passenger seat in it because he'd taken out the passenger seat and it was full of shit in there. So I had to sit in the back. And he did warn me. He says it's a bit unstable when you sit in the back. But what he hadn't told me was that it didn't have the normal engine that was supposed to be in it. It was meant to be I think it was about an 800cc engine or something. And he or one of his mates or something had put into it a 1600 Cortina engine. And we got round the roundabout and onto the coast road, and he put his foot down, and the front wheel came off the ground. And it was a bit unnerving, I have to say, because, even when you're on a motorbike and you pull a wheelie, you can still, with your body, steer it a bit. But front wheel come off the ground in this thing, and there's just nothing you can do. You know, it was scariest thing. But Graham, he just used to think it was funny. But yeah, it certainly made me darken my underpants.
Well, I was renowned
car,
for making it more stable by putting a paden slab in the boot and covering it with the carpet. Just give that a bit more stability. Because I had a tendency when you went along South Road and Gateshead, and you got the wind coming up the avenues, they hit the side of the car and make it swerve a bit at the back end. So if you put a paden slab in the back, it just kept you that bit more stable. So you didn't get blown off the road.
My first car was a Fiat Strada.
A Fiat Strada.
Remember those when they were, when they were advertised on the telly? It was the first car that was advertised as being built by robots.
Drove by idiots, but built by robots.
Like that. Yeah. Funny enough, I don't know about you, but funny enough, I can still remember the registration number of that car. Now, why is that? You know, I mean, it's like 30 years since I had that car. Still remember it, like no bother at all. Weirdo thing, memory, isn't it? I was having this discussion with somebody the other day about memory, and they gave me an interesting analogy about memory. Right? If you think of memory as being like a field of long grass, right? You with me? So
yeah,
field of long grass.
You know how when you walk, when you you got the picture, Eric? Yeah, you got the picture. So you know, like when you walk through a field of long grass, and you leave a little trail behind you, where the grass is bent over and snapped, don't you?
Yeah.
And he said that's like your memory. You know, you walk through the grass and you've left this little trail behind. So that's your short-term memory. So if I gave you a phone number and you remember it till tomorrow, that's how you remember it, because of this little trail that you've left behind in the grass. But he said if you don't use it regularly, then the grass just grows back again and it disappears, and that's the memory gone. So I thought, yeah, fair enough, I can live with that. And then he says, but if you walk the same old path through the field of grass day after day after day, that's like using the same memory day after day, and so it becomes permanent, because it's like, you know, the grass has worn away. And there you go. And I thought, yeah, it's a good little analogy there, but it doesn't help you with my car registration number for my Fiat Strada, because ever since I've had that car 30 years ago, I've never thought about it. But if I ever do think about it, I always remember its registration number. So what's that all about then? Very strange.
It means you've never got over it. You still love that little car. I once had my first real car was an Opel Kadett, the Stingray one. That was a lovely. I mean, it was a good looking car, but I didn't have my license, so I couldn't drive it. But my old man bought it. He said, "He was going to take me out for a drive and pass me test and whatever." And I think I was about 18 when it was sitting on the driveway, because I'd had my little Robin Reliance and my motorbike. I was quite happy. And the only reason I went to get my car license is because my girlfriend at the time was such a crap driver that she'd scare the crap out of me. So that was the only reason I went to get my car license, because it was, and I ended up kissing me best mate on the cheek, because there was one time she'd missed things like park cars and traffic lights, and she'd suddenly see me last minute and brake. And my best mate at the time, Keith, was in the back, and she broke so hard in this little Mini, his head came through between us, and he had this kind of look on his face like a scalded cat. So the best thing I do is go, and I just kissed him on the cheek just to make it feel better. And that was the deciding moment when I decided to pass my car test, because I kissed him on the cheek. He went, "Oh, you kissed me." I said, "Yeah, but you're still alive." Just, and so am I. And then she actually drove a little Mini through the neighbour's next door fence. We'd had a bit of argument, bit of a stiff. Freudian slip there. Bit of a tiff.
Are you good at your age, Eric?
Bit of a tiff. And she got in the car and slammed it into what she thought was reverse, but actually turned out to be first. It went through the neighbour's next door fence, and that was it. That clinched it. So I had this little Opel Kadett, and I was desperate to. I bought from the auctions, dead keen to drive it. Old man, mother went out one night, and I thought, well, what's the work in that? I'll take it on the block. What's the worst can happen? I can drive the car, because I was driving Robert Lyons. So I'll just take it off for a bit of a spin. Got in, there was a little bit of smell of petrol. Thinking, it's probably an out. And what it turned out is the carburetor was leaking into the exhaust manifold, and it built up in the exhaust. So I took it around the block, and there was an almighty explosion. And it blew the entire exhaust off this car. So I then had to get it back to my house in an almighty racket without getting nicked by the police that were on the end of the Team Valley, and pull it on the driveway without my old man knowing that I took it out for a spin. And I said, "Oh, the exhaust broken." Never told him to this day that blew the car apart. Anyway, there you go. So what Jimmy's saying here, Kathy can tell you all the registrations. That's Jimmy's wife, and we know Kathy. In fact, Kathy, because she wrote 3 of them off, and I know that's like. The thing about Kathy is she's a lovely lady, but you wouldn't want to. She can drink most blokes under the table. So just while she's not in this bar, because she's drunk me under the table a few times, this woman. So thank you for that, Jimmy. Thanks for joining us. In fact, one time we dropped Kathy off in a nice state after having a few sherbets after the course of running, and poor Jimmy had to deal with the ramifications. So do apologise again, Jimmy. I still keep apologising for that one event. Any other crap cars or stars you want to talk about, or have we put this one?
Me dad, when I was young, he was a good golfer. He was an amateur golfer, but he was flipping good. And he actually even bought a house near the golf club because he just played golf that much. But he used to win a lot of amateur competitions. And years ago, I remember, he won this amateur competition, and the prize was a weekend at some fancy golf club at some notoriously well-known, high-profile club. But included in the prize was the use of a Rover 3500. Can you remember them? They did like a Vanden Plough, and they did a few others. And back then, it was quite a cool design. It looked a bit like, for those that aren't familiar, it looked a bit like the big old Citroen XM. It had the lovely slope front, and anyway, I came back from school one day. This is the age I was at. And there's this thing on our drive. Beautiful looking car. And it was a blooming expensive car back then, but it was a top of the range. It might have been a Vanden Plough. And I'm like, Dad, what's going on? What's going on? He says, well, I've got it for the weekend. We won this competition, and I've got the use of that. Me and my mates are going up to this golf club thing. And I says, oh, well, go on, take us for a drive. And this thing had just been literally purchased by whoever, or it was a hire car or something, I don't know. But it was brand new. It had about 100 miles on it. And as we started off on this little drive, I'm thinking, Dad, what the hell is that noise? And these cars and the build quality was so crap. The back end of the car was full of water because the build was just. And as we're driving down the road, the draft's coming in through the windows. I mean, it had leather seats and everything, but it was just absolute utter crap. And I'm like, that's a brand new car. And that's the state of it. But this back then, I mean, it would have been like the equivalent of buying, I don't know, a 30, 40, 50,000 pound car now, but they were blooming rubbish. So my dad never did buy one of them. He bought a Capri.
Oh. Now, I'm going to put that coming up there, Jimmy, because you'll get in trouble from the missus because she's bound to. I know she's at work tonight, but she's bound to check in. So there you go. Anyway,
I had a period in life when I had 2 Austin Maestros at the same time, and you may well be wondering why I would have 2 of them. But the answer is that we had a little accident with the car I had before that, and I needed a car quick. So it was in the days before the internet and whatnot, so I bought the free ads, and I just went and bought the cheapest car I could find that was nearby, and it was a diesel, 2-litre diesel Austin Maestro. And I thought I expected it was going to be crap because that's what you hear about them. And actually, when I got this car, it was absolutely brilliant. The 2-litre Perkins diesel, it was a fantastic motor. I liked it so much that one day I was driving past a second-hand car dealer, and they had another one in there. So I thought, oh, I'll pop in there, and I bought that one as well. So I had a red one and a blue one. And shortly after that, I moved to this little village in Hampshire, and I used to go drinking in the social club there. And there was a guy in the village who cars was his thing. And he had this, I think it was a Lexus, if I remember rightly, that he had imported especially for him with private plates on it and whatnot, and had every extra you could possibly imagine in it. And I was sitting with him drinking in the social club one day, and he just couldn't get his head around the idea that I'd got these 2 Maestros. And he kept saying to me, Ian, why? What's the explanation? And he just wouldn't believe that I bought them because I liked them. But I genuinely did. And there were a couple of great cars and lasted me for ages. But like you say, the metal quality was really rubbish in them, and they just went rotten and fell to bits. But the engine was still going. But yeah, but they weren't as bad as everybody says.
Well, Jim used to mention when he had the Austin Maxis. My old man used to have a Wolseley 6, which was a similar car, and the Austin Maxis, that was a big old bugger. But I tell you what actually finished off the British car industry was the Nissan Sunny, the Datsun Sunny. That just, and was it the P, was it P700, by the P700? Datsun, which had a wash wiper standard and 2 wing mirrors. Those were the days when you had cars that had a wash wiper standard. But the first Japanese car I had was a Honda Accord, a little Honda Accord. And even when you left the lights on, you opened the door, it had a little buzzer. It went bzzz to tell you you'd left the lights on. Had a wash wipe, 2 wing mirrors, and it even had a cigarette lighter. As standard.
Wow.
Now, you're talking. Now you're talking when you get a. I think it was a P20Y or P7Y, the Nissan thing, or the Datsun thing.
You've got to say I was listening.
Right. Hey, Eric, I've got to interrupt you. Graham, there's something very important has happened. I'm informed that little Doc is listening to us on YouTube. So we have to say hello to him. So little Doc, fantastic to know that you're there. It's a shame we can't see you, but I think we need to have little Doc on as a special guest, I think.
Little Doc as a special guest. I mean, it can ask little Doc to put a comment if he's actually logged into YouTube to put a comment on, see if the comment comes through, or we're just getting comments from.
I haven't seen little Doc. I haven't seen little Doc in 20 years.
20 years.
I think it must be getting on about 20 years. And the last time I saw him, he came down to the south coast, and I had a sailing boat at the time. We sailed over to Cherbourg, and on the way across, the boat filled up with rather an alarming quantity of water. And I wasn't sure where the water was coming from. So when we got to Cherbourg, we had to run it aground, and we had to take everything out and pump out all this water and find out where the leak was coming from, which I did eventually. But I can distinctly remember one particular night in Cherbourg drinking with Doc, because it took us 2 or 3 days to clear the boat out and get it sorted. So we were in the bars of Cherbourg every night, and the bars in Cherbourg tend to be very narrow on their frontage, but they go back a long way into the building. And I remember drinking in this bar all night with little Doc and this guy who was a slaughterman, and he was telling us all his tales about being a slaughterman all night. I never knew there was quite so much to being a slaughterman, but he was an interesting fella. But yeah, that trick was the last time that I saw little Doc, sadly, and we've been meaning to catch up for years and years and years. And I was saying to little Graham, Doc, if you're listening, we're going to come and visit you this summer. Isn't that right, Graham?
Well, I've discussed this in the past, but we didn't know where he was. And I mean, Doc, if you're listening, and it's fantastic to hear from you. And obviously some years have passed by. I actually must have sent you quite a few messages, but obviously it didn't go anywhere because we were going to do exactly that. I remember, Doc, at some equation in our past, were you either running or living in a pub in the Yorkshire area? And I'm sure that on my travels, I keep passing this pub and I'm thinking, I'm sure that was the pub that I actually parked my truck outside your pub and I stayed at your place. You must have been running the pub, I'm sure you were. But yes, it would be lovely to catch up with Doc. So if you're all listening on the other fence on that YouTube thing, leave a comment or leave a message or something, and we'll try and. Well, Ian, you must have a contact because you've spoken to Dave, obviously.
Yeah. I know where he lives. So this summer we're going to assuming we can all get out. We're going to go down and visit him. Definitely.
Sounds good.
Well, I don't know who Doc is, but nice to hear from about little Doc, because we're going to move on because times are moving on, and we're now going to talk about traffic wardens. That's the topic of conversation now. So if anyone's going to put his about traffic wardens, I want to make a point first of all by saying that I know for a fact that traffic wardens breed in the back lane in Gateshead. I've witnessed it firsthand. I was actually sat in Gateshead in my younger days, watched 2 fully grown traffic wardens, one of the male variety, one of the female variety, walk into a back lane around what used to be quick save, and 3 slightly shorter one, but another fully grown one, 3 of them emerged from the back lane. So they breed at an awful rate, a catastrophic rate, and they come out fully formed and fully dressed, ready for action. Don't put that out there. I know fine well. And if they're still breeding in Gateshead, if anybody knows of them still breeding in Gateshead, if they moved on to the towns and cities, I'm sure they're breeding elsewhere, other places too. But 2 fully formed traffic wardens went out, and 3 came back. So there you go.
That's amazing, Eric. Amazing.
I'm probably breaking some secret, Trade Descriptions Act or some secret act or whatever. But I'm telling you, they breed not quite as much as. Mainly because I haven't got a rabbit. I haven't got a rabbit sound thing. What noise is the rabbits make? You get the idea. So there you go. So, yeah. Graham, did you have a story about traffic wardens?
Well, I tend to rub shoulders with them quite often because, doing my job, driving this big truck thing with cars on it. Most of the garages that I deliver to, they're not equipped for these monstrous big trucks. So we've got to park on the side of the road, and you upset everybody, and you upset the bus drivers because you sometimes have to park near a bus stop, and it just goes on. So we get quite a bit of abuse. But there was an occasion. We deliver cars all over the place, new cars to garages, hire cars to hire companies, all this kind of stuff. There's a place up in Edinburgh, and it's a particular car hire company, and it's right on Princess Street in the busy part of Edinburgh. And it's an absolute nightmare. And you can guarantee, trying to deliver cars to this place, you're going to get a ticket, you're going to get grief, someone's going to bust your chops, right? Anyway, I had 11 cars, fancy brand new cars, to deliver to this particular hire company. But basically, where Princess Street is and all the shops, there's a little arch in the wall on the high street there. And the hire company's got like a little yard inside. So all the cars have got to go in there. But directly outside is a taxi rank. You've also got tram lines, and you're right across from the bus station, the train station, be it Waverley or whatever, I can't remember, one of them, Waverley or something. So it's the nightmare. Last time I was up there, as I got nearer to the place, I went, oh no, it's that place. This is going to be fun. This is going to be fun. Gets up there, but the lads that work there, they know the script. So I gets there, runs in. I'm kind of best I can. I'm parking somewhere. Runs in to see the lads, and I said, look, lads, you know the script, come on. And as you take the cars off, they come out and they run them in as quick as they can. So you're not there for very long. Or that's the idea. Anyway, I went in, saw the guys, came out, we started taking these cars off. Just as we start taking them off, this taxi driver comes around, the traffic warden comes around the corner. Great big bloke. Comes around the corner and he's got his little book out like this, and he says, and he's about 10, 20 yards away. I'm at the back of the truck, he is near the front. And he goes, and he just points like that, he goes, 20 minutes, ticket time. 20 minutes, ticket time. And off he went. Yeah. Aye, okay. So, however, let's get them off. I've still got 3 cars left on the truck when he comes back round again, the same fella. He's smiling like this. Driver, ticket time. Well, after getting me chops busted by the taxi driver, they're never crossed there, and the pedestrians, you're on the curb. I just kind of lost the plot. And I'm like, bloody traffic wardens, they're bloody. And he walks over, and as he walked over, I'm like this. He was a big lad. I'm like, are you all right? He said, driver, I said, take your time. Oh, I'm thinking he's saying, ticket time.
Anyway, I think that's your friend here. I've just put up excellent trip to France. And know he just lived next door to a pub in Dewsbury, apparently. So that's the chat we're watching live on YouTube. You little.
Did that just come through to you, Eric, on your system there?
I'm not gonna bore you with the technology, but I'm at the helm. I've got the full system go here. There you go. Anyway. I want to share a quick story
I
about traffic
remember that
wardens.
trip to France that the little
sorry.
dot was talking about there, because unfortunately, after we got there, I forget why, but he had to get home in a bit of a hurry. So unfortunately, he had to hop on the car ferry at Cherbourg, and go back that way. So he wasn't able to join us on the rest of our cruise around France and whatever it was we did that year. I don't know. So yeah, that was the last time I saw him, sadly, which is a great shame. We've been trying to catch up ever since, but we're definitely going to do it this summer without fail.
Okay, no problem. Well, actually, in fact, we've got a name for the taxi driver. It's Big Bob the Warden. So there you go. So next time he says, "Take your time," you'll go, "Nee bother, Bob."
Eric.
Go on.
Eric, before we move on, my lovely lady just reminded me of something earlier. If you just step back, if you will, for a minute about cars. Can you remember when we had the pink smart car?
I do indeed. We decorated said car.
Well, we did.
Hang on, wait till Ian's finished doing whatever he's doing. He's knocking about with crisp. He's making noises in the background.
Oh, sorry, I was getting a bit
idea.
I was just getting some more cheese and biscuits down my neck.
He's still on his cheese and biscuits. Carry on.
All right.
We had this.
I'm nearly at the end of the packet though.
Oh, he's opening the other packet. He's like the back. He's like the back of the cinema, isn't he? He's like the back of the cinema. He's either eating peanut M&Ms or he's doing something. You're just going, I'm trying to listen to the film, man. The film. You know, I'm listening to the film, and you're making noises in the back while you pack it in, man. I'm trying to watch your film. So let little Graham tell his story about the pink car, man, will you? Go on, Graham. Sorry for the interruption.
Another one of our world enterprises.
Sorry, do apologise.
I left the door open again.
Somebody, and I don't know, and I'm not mentioning any names, came up with an idea some years ago to start a dating site.
No idea that was.
Did you know about this, Ian?
Oh yes, I knew all about that.
Well, I'll make it quick.
Is this the forum to talk about this or what? Is it?
Well, it's a car. That's the thing. It's a car, right? We started this dating site, and we've had a fancy website and all the group, and they had fancy chat rooms, and we're trying to build it, and that's a story in its own right. But to try and promote it, with the help of another friend of ours, we acquired a little smart car. Well, our thought process was, if the actual website, and the thing was called Date Northeast, we thought if we did it on more of a local kind of level, there might be some mileage in that, because at the time, the big players were the Date and Direct, and there's a few others, but they were the big ones with big marketing and all that. We thought, nah, just keep it local. Date Northeast, get everybody in a local, because, let's face it, you go on a dating site, if you so choose, and you go, ooh, I like the look of her, ooh, I like the look of him, but they're in London, you're in Newcastle. Well, what's all that about, you know? But anyway, we've got this little smart car, and we thought, great little promotion tool. So that little clever fella there, I got that one there?
Right, yeah, no, you're going to point that way. No, yeah, that's the right way.
Yeah,
that
fella with the hat on. We painted it pink because the general layout and the colour scheme of the website was kind of pinky, and we thought if we get the girls on board, the guys will follow. And then when we get a bit of an audience, we can charge them 20 quid a month to interact and go in the chat rooms and do their thing, right? So we had this thing, and we did all the sign writing. Eric did a lot of the design, so I guess it's your fault, Eric. But anyway, I'm running around. I used to use this car daily. It didn't bother me that it was pink, unless, of course, I was driving past schools, especially young kids in schools, because I never thought about it at the time. You'd be driving past in this car that had little hearts on it and all that, and the kids would be that. You know what I mean? I'll get arrested. Steaming down the coast road here from our place at the coast into Newcastle, and I pulled up to the lights here, and you'll know it right at the corner house. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The two girls were on the way to, they just happened to be in the bus that was sitting at the traffic lights next to me, absolutely wetting themselves laughing. And I'm thinking, yeah, it's pink leg, but it's not that funny. But if you remember on the back, Eric, the logo, dating Northeast, but the thing that we came up with, which never really occurred to us at the time, it said, love is just a click away. It was only my partner's friend pointed it out as the car drove past. Love, that doesn't say that. To me, that says love is just a dick away.
It was
Not
the font. The font. It was a lovely squirrely handwritten font, and the problem was it read at the distance. The click. It was it didn't like click. It merged into dick. So it should have said love is just a click away, but from a distance it clearly said love is just a dick away.
Indeed. And that obviously just went right. That just went right over our heads.
More effective.
Well, you'd think it was more effective. Sadly, it wasn't. It kind of didn't do the. Well, I think it probably got more blokes to join, thinking, "Oh, yeah, that sounds like it's going to be a bit of a promise." But I'll tell you what it was.
I mean, it was
running the chat rooms. Running the chat rooms.
It wasn't in any way meant to be gratuitous or anything like that. It was just a genuine mistake. But we didn't go very far with that enterprise because we nearly got sued by Dayton Direct, didn't we?
Right. Well, it was more the point that the issue was that with running date site thinking, okay, it's got to be a group of adults, but you had to monitor the chat rooms, and there were people falling out all the time. There's people getting really. I mean, it was getting too smutty. It was like running a class of school kids on a major scale. There was about 30 people in the room, and it was like interbreeding. I think it would have ended with the entire Northeast having webbed feet and just kind of just generally, it was constantly going, calm yourself down. It's meant to be a community, not, I know got backbiting and bitching and, it's not. I mean, I think one bloke, we won't mention who, almost dated every bugger and caused more hassle than anything else. It was just, so when we chucked the towel in and we got rid of the car, love just being a dick away. That was probably one of the best things. Anyway, I've got a short story on traffic wardens. And it dates back to me old man's car, so it's a bit of a car story too. And it was he had one of the first, what was it, Vauxhall Cavalier, the big horrible square light one that was a back end horrible Vauxhall, and you had to kind of do this thing where you pulled up the gear lever to get it in reverse, and it was green. It was like almost like the colour of that traffic warden or Grumpy Geordies logo. It was a horrible green colour. And my old man said, he says, I'm not feeling that well. And my mother said, I need paint. I said, all right, what kind of paint? She said, well, I need some emulsion because I'm going to do a bit of painting. I said, all right, no bother. Well, I'll just nip across the Newcastle levies. And I think it was Clayton Street or something like that. It was one of these streets where you couldn't really park very long. Unless, of course, you had a disabled badge. Well, my old man had a disabled badge on his car. So I thought, well, all I'll do, I'll nip across, park right outside the levies, nip in, get a couple of tins of paint, and come back again. So I parked the car. And I'm just got in the car and you locked it. The days when you had to lock a car with the key, I remember those days, you actually had to lock it. There was no central lock and lock the car with the key. And there's a traffic warden just stood on the pavement. And I thought, well, what do I do? So I kind of looked at the traffic warden, give him a little nod, as you do, tip your hat kind of thing. And I walked into levies with a limp. I kind of went, oh. And I walked in. I thought, well, I could have looked like I'm disabled, we didn't talk about mental health back in those days. We didn't talk about wellness. It was just like, well, I've got to have a physical disability. So I walked in with this limp. Almost more like Quasimodo than a limp, right? And I was in there for about half an hour or so, getting some paint and so on and so forth. And then, never paid for the paint, carrying 2 bigs of 5 litre tin emulsions, or 10 litres or whatever it was in each hand, 25 litres, I don't know, big tins of paint. And I walked out, 2 tins of paint, put them by the boot, popped the boot, shoved the tins in the boot, never thinking out of it. Looked up and shut the boot, and as soon as I shut the boot lid, there's this traffic warden stood right in front of me. Give me that look. And I went, all right. She went, all right. And there was a bit of a pause. He said, That must be good paint, that. I said, what do you mean? He says, it's cured your limp. It's cured your limp. I thought there was a bit of a pause. I thought I was going to get a bit of... I found it funny. It made me laugh. But there you go. So it cured your limp.
Did you get many more sound effects, Eric?
Hey?
Did you get a couple more sound effects? I mean, I know you got the sheep thing. Did you get a couple?
You tumbleweed? That was reserved for your jokes.
No.
Yo. I'm going to make it see. I'll do it again. Oh. There you go. That was better. It's a work in progress. It's a work in progress. Anyway, so next one. Let's pick another topic. We've done traffic wardens. In fact, I think this is one of yours, Ian. Let me let's get this one up. So talk amongst yourselves, because you often do. You just ignore me, you buggers. But there you go. Let's go with this one. And it's a bit of a sensitive topic. So if anybody have a nervous disposition, or let's have a look. And it's I'm having technical problems. Talk amongst yourselves. Technical problems. We'll like a few technical problems. And it's one of Ian's. Right, here we go. Right, and strippers.
Strippers. Well, it was funny. It was our chat last week that made me think about strippers, because it just made me think that back in the 80s, there was all sorts of places that had strippers on in Newcastle, and I was just wondering if they were still there, because I know that there'll be private clubs where you've got strippers, but that's not what I'm talking about. Because I remember when I used to work at Magnus in Walker, when I used to go with Gordon at lunchtime down to the Raby on Shields Road, we used to get our roast beef and Yorkshire pud for a couple of quid. We'd have 2 or 3 pints, and there'd be a stripper on most days as well there. And she'd just be doing her thing in the corner there. No one would really be paying any attention much to her. And it was just kind of there. And it was quite common in those days. And I can also remember a mate of mine had a little boat down on the Tyne near Willington Quay. And we used to quite often chuff across the river to South Shields. And we used to go to this pub in South Shields that I can't remember the name of, but they used to have a stripper in a cage above the bar. And that was like at lunchtime. We're not talking like 2 o'clock in the morning, something here. This is lunchtime. And then there was all the working men's clubs in Newcastle in those days who would have a stripper on at lunchtime as well. And again, all the old boys would be sitting around there, they'd be having their lunch, because there were always really good value lunches in there, and a couple of pints. And nobody would be really paying too much attention to a stripper, but it was just like part of the wallpaper almost. It was just one of those things that were there. But I was just wondering, not having lived in Newcastle for years and years and years, are there still any pubs or anything like that has that kind of thing on anymore?
It was definitely the workman's clubs, because I remember living around Saltwell, Gateshead. There was a workman's club at the end of Coastwood Road, and you'd go there, and you'd often go there that, your mother or your missus would be making the Sunday lunch on a Sunday. Hence the goal is called it Sunday lunch. I knew that, didn't I? Going to Sunday lunch because on a Sunday. And you'd go to the Sunday lunch, and you'd go to the pub in the morning, you have a couple of bevies, and there would be guys playing dominoes and cards and push penny and all that kind of stuff, and the strip would be on, and nobody would be taking any notice. You almost felt a bit sorry for them.
Yeah.
There was this woman who would get up, more mature woman than I was back then. I was in my probably my teens, 18, 19, 20, thereabouts. And they get up and do this thing, and you'd be looking going. And it wasn't all inspiring. It wasn't even. And I remember thinking, what the hell's the point? I didn't get it. I mean, there was one stripper. There was one stripper.
I used to feel a bit sorry for them at the end.
Well. This particular woman, there was one particular woman came in, and she had absolutely huge breasts, right? And she came out off the stage, and she got these breasts, and she battered this bloke, head in the middle of these breasts, and she battered him with these breasts, And I remember that explicitly because I couldn't hear for weeks. I thought that was going to get a bit couldn't hear for weeks after that. So that she went up my estimation.
I mean, Whitley Bay, when it was in its prime, Whitley Bay, the pub down near, let me try and think of the name. I think one of the pubs, if I remember rightly, it was owned by, and I think I'm correct in saying this, it was owned by the brother of Sting, the musician. And
so
that was quite a haunt.
Can I just adjust my temperature? I'm looking a bit flushed apparently. It's my studio lights. Yeah. It's my studio. I'm just a studio lights I've got on. Carry on, Grim. Do apologise.
Whitley Bay, as you remember, back in our younger days, I mean, it used to get massive on a weekend, and on a bank holiday, I remember, because it was the place to be. The buses used to come down from all over, and Ashington and Blythe, and their place was rammed on a bank holiday. And so if the sun was out, God, but it was a popular place. I know they had strippers down there, and that went on really till the demise of the drinking culture down there. But I can remember before the laws came in that said you couldn't drink outside. I mean, like, Eric, you've got a bottle in your hand, you couldn't do that outside now. But back then, I remember stumping up down there to meet my pals on a bank holiday Saturday, probably, I don't know, 5 o'clock in the afternoon or something like that. And you could have walked from the top of North Parade to the bottom across the sea of bottles. It was just unbelievable. I mean, obviously, that had to at some point come to a stop, which it did. But it was just like Woodstock. It was unbelievable.
No.
But yes, strippers. There was certainly that one that was owned by, if I'm correct, Sting's brother. And then as the rules and regs started to come in, I think that one went across the road down onto the actual promenade, like underneath. And it still went on there, but they used to get very, very busy. I mean, they were all young lads, of course, But it was certainly a different culture at the social club, because they used to be ram solid, these pubs, every night. And it's a bit sad, really, because here we are now, and it's kind of moved from there down towards Tynemouth now, and that's the place to go. But it's all gin bars, and yeah, it's nice, but that culture is gone, and it will never come back again. It's just, after this current issue that we're dealing with now, I mean, I don't even think Newcastle will ever be the same again. Going down to Newcastle, doing the tune, with your mates. And doing the tune, doing the...
2016 asking, did Woodstock ever have strippers?
Well, they were in the free room, man. They were all stripping.
Was that yes from you, Ian?
I remember going back to, I guess this would be late 1970s.
Oh, we're not that old.
So
I'm younger than you two.
Maybe even mid 1970s, because I'm talking like so I'd probably be 11, 12, 13, something. And I can remember going down to the Spanish City with my mates to play on the arcade games. But do you remember opposite the Spanish City there was a pub called the Berkeley Tavern?
Yeah.
Remember that? Is it still there?
No.
In those days, it was a magnet for bikers, and you'd get all the Hell's Angels come down there, and we used to go down there to play on the arcades just to like fill in a bit of time until one of the fights kicked off in the Berkeley, because all the bikers would be laying into each other, and the police would be down, and it would be a really good spectator sport, and it was a regular thing every weekend. And we're talking, I mean, there must have been 50 or more bikers down there at a time, and presumably there were different biker gangs, that had gone up there, especially to have a few beers and then a scrap. But it was just like, what happened down at the Berkeley Tavern? Can you remember that, Graham?
Well, I can't remember that sport, as you call it. We were, well, no, Ian, I mean, to be honest, when I was 13, I was in the West End in Newcastle. I wasn't down that way, so no, that wasn't my thing. I was just getting into trouble in the northeast around Fenham area.
Well, talking to bars, of course, you had the bar we used to go to before turning very famous was the Mitre at Heaton, which became
in where?
The Mitre in Heaton, which became what? What did the Mitre in Heaton become?
Go on then. I know Heaton pretty well, but I don't know that one.
Well, there was a pub called the Mitre in Heaton, and it eventually became a youth club on the telly.
Was that the one next to the bridge, right down Heaton Park Road or whatever?
It was along the long road. It was on right hand side if you're going out towards West Newcastle, and it was called the Mitre, and it turned into the youth club that were Baker Grove.
You mentioned this last weekend. You're repeating yourself a bit. Are you losing the plot tonight, Eric?
What do you mean?
Well, you mentioned the Mitre last week, but we also mentioned the paint thing. So are you running out of material? Because we've got loads more, you know.
I didn't mention the paint thing. Did I mention the paint thing last week? When you learned about the paint
You did.
thing?
You did. You
I
told
didn't
that
mention
story.
I didn't mention Baker Grove last week. I'll have to go through the reruns. Anyway, I will put strippers to bed now. That's a good pun.
Very good.
That was a good pun. That I will put the strippers to bed now. Boom. Oh, no, I'll give myself a tumbleweed for that one.
You need one of them.
Right. Okay. Next topic. Oh, I think we've got a number of viewers. I'm going to talk about. Let's have a look. Let's just check this. Hold on 2 seconds. You talk amongst yourself.
I'm feeling Australian all of a sudden. I'm going to put my Australian hat on.
You're going to put your
Doc
Australian...
like this. Doc, if you're still watching, because we're rolling on now. Great for keeping the rain off your baldy heads.
Right. Well, we're going big guns now. Like, we're going big guns now. Oh, Graham, man, you're letting side down with that. I'm going to go big guns because I'm going to talk about. I've got to get there. I've got a little bit of work to do. You'll get there. We're going to talk about the incompetence department.
That's a good one, that, Eric. Keep it up.
So, we've got 7 viewers, so you'll enjoy this. Let me get myself sorted. Right. A number of years ago, in fact, when would it have been? Would have been around about, not that number of years ago, probably 20 years ago, 2000, around about 1999, 2000, 2001, thereabouts. I was renting a property with then partner. With I won't mention the estate agents, Reed Rain, so I won't mention them by name because that would be inappropriate to do so. And we're renting this property, and there was a problem with the toilet. It was leaking out the back. Leaking a bit of what they call effluent, which is the correct terminology. This effluent. And I mean, part of the time, I'd rung the estate agent and said, "Look, we've got this property and it's leaking out stuff at the back of it. Can we have a plumber?" And they just kept fobbing her off, saying the vendors are crossing Spain. We haven't got enough money in the budget and blah blah blah. She had every excuse, known to man and the beast, that were basically saying they could do it. And I said, "I'll ring them." She went, "No, you better not." I said, "No, I don't mean ring them." She says, "You'll be sarcastic." I says, "Me? Sarcastic?" Now, anybody that knows me, I don't even do sarcasm. I wouldn't even get sarcasm if it bit me on the backside. I said, "I'll tell you what it is. If I ring them up, I'll get it sorted." That's all I'm saying. I'll get it sorted, right? And she says, well, all right. It's getting, it's been a couple of weeks going on now. Get it sorted. So I rang them up. And I spoke to her. I said, "Can you put me straight through, please, to somebody that's able to make an instant decision, please?" She went, "Sorry." I said, "I need to speak to somebody that's able to make an instant decision, a decision on the spot, an instant decision. Can you put me straight through the person that's able to make an instant decision?" And she went, well, maybe I can help. I said, "Oh, well, if you're the person making this decision." I said, "If you had a toilet leaking effluent out the back of it, what would you do?" She says, "I'd call a plumber." I says, "I agree with it. That's a good decision. When's he coming?" And she said, "Sorry?" I said, "If a leaking toilet, it's leaking effluent, we've both agreed that you'd get a plumber." She went, "Well, yes." I said, "Great, I agree with that. That's a good plan. When's he coming?" She went, "Tomorrow." I said, "That's brilliant. Brilliant. Tomorrow would be great." I put the phone down. And then I got a phone call back from the branch manager of this particular stage, and she went, "Mr. Yates, the person you spoke to hasn't got the authority to make that decision." I said, "Oh, hang on. I was quite specific when when she answered the phone. I said, "Can you put me to somebody that can make an instant decision?" She said, "I can. We agreed a plumber would be the best outcome, and he's coming tomorrow. So is he coming tomorrow?" She went, "Well, no." I said, "What do you mean no?" I said, "We need a plumber because it's leaking out poo, excrement, bits of wee and whatever." I says, "I'll make it easier for you." I says, "I can put the phone down now, and my next call will be the environmental health." because we've got people in the house and it's leaking. She said, well, there's nothing to be like that. I said, well, are you able to make a decision? If you had leaking toilet, what would you do? She said, well, I'd call a plumber. I said, great, brilliant. When's he coming? She says, Wednesday. I says, okay, well, tomorrow's Wednesday. Thursday. I says, Thursday will be okay then. I'll just put up with the crap for the couple of days. Anyway, the plumber came and he put a bit of masking on the back of the toilet. And I signed a bit of paper and it said, a temporary fix. Temporary fix. He says, I've fixed it. I've temporary fixed it. It needs to be a proper toilet done, and proper seal and this, that, and t'other. Got a letter from the estate agent 2 days later to say the plumber had been and done a permanent fix. Hang on, I signed the temporary fix and become a permanent fix. Anyway, I had one problem after another. I kept ringing them up to the point where Porter was getting really frustrated. I says, okay, what's the problem now? She says, well, this is on the blink, that's on the blink. I says, I'll ring them up. So I rung them up and I said, okay, can you put me straight through to the person in charge of incompetence department, please? And the woman said, sorry? I said, can't you put me through to the person in charge of incompetence? And she went, charge of I said, yeah, in charge of incompetence. She must have held her hand over the receiver and said, have we got an incompetence department? And the manager came on the phone. She went, is that Mr. Yates? I said, it is Mr. Yates. Yes, it's me, yes. I said, can you put me straight through the person in charge of incompetence, or the department in charge of incompetence? She said, we do not have an incompetence department in this branch. I said, is it located in another branch? She went, no, we don't have an incompetence department, full stop. I said, you don't have an incompetence department. I said, you don't have anybody in charge of incompetence. You manage this level of incompetence with anybody responsible for it. That's impressive. She said, well, what do you want? I said, I just want all these problems fixed. I'm going to email you now a list of problems. Just get them sorted. And she went, well, you will. I said, great, because then that will go down as not competence, not incompetent. Hence, the incompetence department, it gets things done. So go straight through in local incompetence department. It stops any further problems. And should you have a problem with the estate agent, I'll leave me WhatsApp number below. Call me. I can get anything resolved. So, do I get a round of applause for that one? A bit more than that. Good story.
Very good, Eric.
Competence department. Okay, so that's that one put to bed. So let's have a look at one. I think this is one of Ian's actually. One of Ian's, this one. You've kind of half mentioned it, Ian. So it might not take long, but we'll stick it on here. And swat here. We'll stick it on here, and it's over to you, Bonnie Lad, and it is arcade games.
Oh yeah. Well, that was something else that took me back to the 70s, I suppose, because when I went to school, in the northeast, and when we used to get the lunchtime, then we'd wander out down the street in Tynemouth to Roy's Caff, and we'd buy ourselves a big stotty, and we'd hollow out the stotty, eat all the soft bread out of the inside there, so you just had the shell left, and then we'd nip down at the fish and chip shop, which was another couple of shops down Front Street, and we'd get a bag of chips and a battered spam fritter, and we'd bung that in the stotty, and then we'd eat the whole lot whilst we were walking down to the plaza to enjoy the delights of the arcade games for the rest of our lunchtime in the plaza. And it was when Space Invaders had first started appearing, and Asteroids and Galaxians. Galaxians was like the ultimate game that was there at the time. That was the one, yeah. It was where things came in all directions, and we used to spend all our lunchtime and all our money down there in the Plaza Arcade, playing all those games before rushing back to school for afternoon lessons. But it's funny because I loved it in those days, but I never ever subsequently got into computer games. I've never played a computer game. I've never owned one. Things like Call of Duty and all that lot. It's all kind of like passed me by, really. But which is strange when I was, I was so enthusiastic back in the day when it came to Space Invaders. But there you go. What about you guys? Did you play the arcade games much?
It was when they were in the table in the pub. Do you remember they used to sit in the pub and they had the actual proper table? And I mean, I'm sure it was the start of a bad neck, when now people sit with mobile phones like that and tablets and do that all the time, right? But you'd sit in a bar and there'd be a proper table and you put your money in, and you'd sat the other side and the screen would swap round and stuff when you had your different turns, 2-player, and you were like doing boop, 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 and it was just brilliant, them games. But for me, the one that got me, and I'm the same, I didn't do Call of Duty and all that kind of stuff, mainly because I haven't got the patience. You know, I mean, I tried, what was it, Fortnite for a bit, you know, on my phone and on my laptop. You know, the Fortnite is
Right.
huge, apparently, where you can, you know, you run around and you buy different things and different characters and all sorts of stuff. And I get killed too quickly, and I get bored because it just takes effort, and I can't be bothered to put the effort in. But it was Afterburner, the big thing you sat in. Oh, you felt that. Yeah. I'm frozen. That's the face I used to make. Because I sat there and and you just, I mean, it was absolutely incredible to kind of get that. I mean, it was just physically sat in, and it was just there. It was the best thing ever. You know, Pac-Man seems to be a good choice.
I think they might have had one of those. I think they might have had one of those down at the plaza. So it was the one that you sat in, and it moved as well, didn't it?
It was a proper
thing, yeah.
doobly high.
So it was like flying a little sort of spaceship thing, wasn't it?
No, it was a jet. It was a proper jet.
Oh, I think I remember that. Yeah, I think they did have one down at the plaza, but it used to get vandalised a lot. So most of the time it wasn't working.
I lost my wallet. Not that I don't want to start Graham off, but I lost my wallet because I got that excited. I put my wallet down next to me, and I'm kind of doing this game, and I'm like, oh, all over it, and I'm loving it. And I got up and just left my wallet sat on the seat. When I went back a couple of minutes later, it had gone. Not that I've got a reputation for losing wallets and such like. So we're not even going to go there. He's got that smug look on his face, and he's like, look at that. We're going to make him into that smug look there. That smug look there would suggest he's dying to say something about me losing wallets. He better not, because there's a key story out there which he doesn't want me to tell. So do you want to make a comment about wallets?
Well, like you, Ian, I've never ever had any interest in gaming machines or online games. I mean, funnily enough, you know, as these days roll past at the minute, it's a bit like Groundhog Day, isn't it? Same crap, just a different day. And this week especially has been pretty sad, pretty miserable. Rained all week. It's grey. It's a little bit depressing, let's be honest. And I did something the other day when I was away from home in the vehicle. I did something the other day that I haven't done for an awful long time. And I can't even remember if back then I was into it. I did a jigsaw.
In a truck?
It must be the first time. Yeah, and they're certainly becoming very popular again because people are stuck at home. They've got nothing to do. I mean, people are bouncing off the walls at the minute with boredom. But I'll tell you, I mean, Eric, you keep having a pop at me. And I know it's just joking on. You keep having a pop at me thinking he's a bit thick, him, like, and I might be, you know. But I'll tell you what it is. I can't be that thick. I did this. I picked it up on my travels. I did 1,000-piece jigsaw. And here, I'm not that thick. On the box, it said 5 to 7 years.
Well,
Didn't take me that long. I did it in 3 days.
5 to 7 years. And I don't think you're thick. I mean, thick's not the word. I mean, just a bit thick, because that softens a bit. I mean, I wouldn't call anybody thick. That'd be rude. But just a bit thick kind of makes a bit more sense. But I would call it sometimes a little bit like, you know, naive. Naive.
Yeah.
I reckon there's some logic to Graham being good at jigsaw puzzles. The logic being that to be good at jigsaw puzzles, you've got to have good spatial awareness. And being a driver of monster trucks, then he's acquired very good spatial awareness over the years. So that'll be why. So I reckon if you did some research on this, and you interviewed and tested loads and loads and loads of truck drivers, I bet you would find that on average they were better at jigsaws than an ordinary punter.
Who's going to pay for that research? I mean, was it like Hasbro Games or something, or is it going to be Is it going to be Smith's Toy Shop that's going to suddenly use an advertising campaign saying, "Do you drive a truck? You'll be good at a jigsaw." I'll be more interested in how the hell do you do 1,000 jigsaw in a truck? And you're not going to finish it in one night. You didn't finish it one night. So where did you put it? Have you got a proper have you got the proper roll? I mean, it's really sad. Like him doing stamps, right? I used to collect stamps, you know, Jack. I used to like to know where the countries were. I collected stamps. You're doing jigsaws in your truck. Have you got the proper rolly felt mat that you roll it up and stuff? And and a carrying pouch. Have you got the carrying pouch? And any more accessories when you do these jigsaws?
It's got a twin bunk, so you do it on the top bunk.
So you don't sleep on that one?
No.
2-man cab, is that what you said?
Well, it's got two bunks. Yeah.
So if we want to do a bit of social distancing, can I come with you in your truck? And can I spend the night in your truck with you? And providing, of course, you finished your jigsaw, because I didn't want bits of jigsaw going up my jacksie. Can I come with Uncle Graham? Uncle Graham in his truck, and I'll go toot toot, and I'll sit like. In fact, if you get stuck, I'll do the corners. I like the corners of the jigsaws. I mean, have you got a strategy? Do you do all the outside pieces first and then work in over, or do you? I mean, what's the trucker strategy? I mean, do you do it in reverse? Beep 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 beep. I mean, what's your going with the ends point? What's your strategy?
I'll tell you what, man. Eric, I'll tell you what. If you came away from me for a week, if I didn't kill you in your sleep, you'd be quite handy to have alongside, because you're good with the incompetence departments.
Oh, yeah.
And some of these dealers that we go to, I'm not going to mention any particular brand or anything like that, but
it's not going to be in the middle. Is it going to be on one end and the W on the other end, and then in the middle?
It's all a bit. It can get all a bit highfalutin. I mean, I won't mention any brands, but let's just say the cars are made in Germany, right? And these car dealers, the kind of think they're a bit special, and everything's by appointment, and well, everything is by appointment at the minute. But you go to the showrooms and it's like, oh, how are you? And there's pretty little girls, and they're not very good at getting stuff done. I mean, I'll give you an example.
Anyway, not a caution, Grim. Don't stop you, but Big Trevor's saying, don't jigsaw and drive. Just for my safety.
Indeed. But I'll give you an example of how the system seems to work now. Back in my day, you were just a bullshitter, and you were either a good, half-decent car salesman or not, because you had a bit of rapport and you had a bit crack and carry on. But now the whole process of selling, and certainly selling cars, it's a physical routine, it's a process, it's a numbers game, it's a thing that these people that go to these academies and they're told how to sell these German cars, these Swedish cars, whatever it may be, they just stick them like a factory, they just stick them in one end like a sausage machine and spit them out the other, and then they're experts. But a lot of them have no life experience. They just have to follow this system of, when you're in this dealership, that's how you operate. That's what you do. Give you an example. Stumps up at a big posh German dealership down near M25 or somewhere like that. And of course, the further south you get, the more pompous they become. Because, all that. Anyway, time's quite critical. And as I referred to earlier, with these great big trucks, there's generally nowhere really for you to park. So you're an obstacle, you're in the way, you pay people off. All you want to do is go to the blooming place, dump the cars, everything's satisfactory, and go. Fancy dealership, somewhere near the M25, goes in the morning, outside, I'm causing a bit of a traffic jam and all the rest of it. Because bear in mind, all the stuff, the cars are parked everywhere, you can't get anywhere near the flipping garage. So I've got this big thing with all these cars on. So I went in, and, let's be honest, the little girls that work on reception, or the young ladies, shall I say, are all fabulously dead good looking. There's no doubt about it. It's a nice, pleasant experience to go, wow, look at that. But yeah, went to one the other day. This one, excuse me, I said, all of those cars out there on that thing are for you. Could you do me a favor, please? Could you find the guy that deals with intaking new cars? That guy, there'll be one, right? Oh yes, and it's not the product genius, it's not this guy, it's not this guy, it's this particular guy, right? And I said, well, well, no, that's what they call them now. They have certain people in these dealerships, and they're called product geniuses. It's a marketing thing. Everything's marketing, right?
Yep.
But she says, oh yes, yes, that's not a problem. I'll do that. I'll do that. So she gets on the phone. She's making this call. Well, right next to the front reception desk, they have the other desks that go back into the distance, and they're where the salespeople sit. And they're on the phone shooting the shit about the super German cars and all the rest of it, yeah? So they've got all these tables and little office things next to the main reception. So I must have been there about 15, 20 minutes, and she's still doing this. And then she's on a mobile phone, and I said, have you found him? Are you getting anywhere? And she says, well, no, I'm still trying to find him. I said, well, he works on site here, of course. Yeah. I said, well, if he's not where he normally is, or in the canteen, or having a cup of coffee, do you think there's a good chance he might be out on site? Because that's his job, right? Sorting cars and moving them. Well, yeah. I said, well, go and find him. Go out and find him. I don't know what he looks like. What's he called? Tom, Jimmy Boy, Randy? I don't know. So she then starts emailing. So she's on the computer behind the desk like this. And I said, well, what are you doing now? And she says, well, I'm going to email him. I says, however, and by this time it's like 45 minutes. I'm standing there like a wet weekend, right? I said, look, it's not rocket science, right? There's a kid works here, deals with guys like me, dropping off stuff like that. Go and find him. It's not the biggest site in the world. Go and find him. So she's emailing him. I says, you're not going to be carrying a flipping phone around with him or his computer, you know what I mean? Anyway, I swear to God, I'd been there an hour, right? And after an hour of all this dancing around, the first table next to the front reception desk where she's doing all this crazy stuff, the kid stands up and went, right, driver, you got some cars for me? And I went, hang on a minute. You're the guy that she's been trying to get a hold of for 45, nearly an hour now, that's going to deal with me and sort them cars out on that truck out there. That's you. You're Randy or whatever you're called. You're Randy. Yeah. And they were sitting that far from each other. I swear to God, she could have gone, oh, can't sort him out. I'm not making it up. You couldn't make it up. Man. And I'm like, you're taking the mic. I'm on candid camera, right? I must be. You couldn't make it up.
And Deck are going to pop in any minute.
She could have literally moved across her seat like that and tapped him on the shoulder and said, yeah, Randy, or whatever you call it. Randy, sort this kid out with these cars, will you? Honestly, man, they're just like, how? You know, back in the old days, different game, but anyway, in competence department, that would have been handy then because you could have just dived straight in with your rugby tackle.
Well, we've got somebody on YouTube, this lady here, Sheena, who's going, hello, group. Aloha. You can't figure out how to video. I don't know whether that's a question or what. I mean, what's that about? I can't figure out how to the video.
I can't figure out how to video in.
I have no idea what that means. I'm sorry, Sheena, but we've got no idea what you're talking about, pet man. We've got no idea what you're talking about. Anyway, Jimmy was talking. I didn't want to put him on screen, but he was saying, you love this comment. Some of them trucks are like a home away from home. Microwave that, and you see, Jimmy, you've opened up a can of worms here because I talked to that bloke over there. See, I point in the right direction. Over there regularly, and he's not our keen on his truck. He's not our keen on being away in his little box, driving all over the place. Do you want to give Jimmy a little bit of? I mean, he drives the bus. He drives the big buses. Do you know? And did you know that in East Lothian and that their buses,
the windows are the longer,
the longer windows. Not longer windows, longer buses by a whole, like, double window, right? And that's what Jimmy drives. So he's a kindred spirit. That's all I'm saying. So do you want to give him a little resume about your day-to-day life as a car transport?
Can I just point out something here? Right, I think I think you're showing your age a wee bit here, Graham, because 25 years ago, you would have had one of those hot little chicks out of the showroom in that top bunk in your truck. But now you've got a jigsaw puzzle in there instead. And I think that says something about it.
That's very true.
Well,
Can I also point out, we've just had somebody come up in the chat, Sheena Ann Hughes, who Graham will know as well, is a mate of ours who lives out in Spain now, who used to live in Glasgow. And you used to live in San Francisco. So Graham, you know who I'm talking about, I think. But that's
indeed, yes.
yeah, that's our mate in Spain.
Well,
The very clever technical fella, computer guy.
That's indeed the very same. Yeah.
Well,
So there you go. So hello to Sheena.
Hello to Sheena. I don't know who Sheena is, but I know a couple of people answering in the chat, you know, and so you were going to tell Jimmy about your well-kitted truck, and have we got a subject matter for this jigsaw?
to be honest, I don't really want to talk about trucks. You know, like I do
I want
it
to talk
Monday
about
to
jigsaw. What was
Friday.
the subject matter of the jigsaw? You didn't tell me about the subject matter of the jigsaw, nor did you tell us about your strategy.
The strategy. Well, you get the flat bits around the corner first, and then you just fill the rest in. It's dead easy, Bob's your own job.
No, that's not that easy. That's a strategy. Some people look for bits
No,
to join
no.
together. I'm a corner. Get all the corners out first. Get all the edges, and then work it over. It's
only easy for you because you've got very good spatial awareness because you're a truck driver.
So we need to have a bit of research currently in whether we've got anybody from Hasbro Games watching or Smiths that are willing to fund a bit of research on whether truck drivers are better at filling jigsaws than anybody else. We'll have that research.
Or
So what's the subject matter of the video of the jigsaw rather? What's it of?
I bet there was a few down at Dover over the Christmas period doing a few jigsaws. The poor bugger stuck down there for flipping days and days and days on end. Stuck on a flipping airport down there. But aye.
We haven't got the answer.
No, let's
what's the subject matter? What's the picture?
What was the subject?
No, the picture on your jigsaw, man. What's the bloody picture on your jigsaw?
It was just like a funky coastal kind of scene. Nothing really special. There was a lot of blue in it, which was just like sky bits. That was quite difficult because, you know, but nothing terribly special. And like I say, I don't think I'll be doing it anytime soon.
Did you finish it?
I mean, right. But I mean, most of the time, you know, like I take this little laptop to work and we get on and I'm doing the internet thing, or we're talking about this idea or doing that or doing something. So that kind of occupies a little bit of my time in the evening, but I'm on my own Monday to Friday. I mean, I listen to a lot of radio, and when you're away, the radio is, as far as I'm concerned, it's like a bit of a companion. So sometimes we'll work long hours, we'll finish quite late. I listen to the radio. I mean, I especially do, and it's a sign of my age, I especially do like the World Service. But as of late, general radio, obviously, they're only talking about one thing. So I'm like, oh, no. But even the World Service, unfortunately, they do come up with some fascinating stories late at night. Their actual production mechanism have slowed right down because they're journalists, they're radio people that do stories, can't travel. So a lot of it's being repeated and repeated. I'll go, oh, I'll listen to this. This sounds good. Oh, I've heard it. Oh, I'll listen to this. Oh, I've heard it. But sometimes the World Service in normal times is absolutely fascinating, and you do get good ideas as well. I mean, the other episode of this shindig that we did last week, yeah, there was a little bit of a theme.
Are we calling an episode? It's like an episode. It's like a proper program. I mean, I want to be put down as the producer because I'm producing this. Okay. I'm in the studio. I've got the studio lights. Looking at it, it's a bit warm in here. But you know, if we call it episode, is it going to be like a series? And then we're going to have a pilot because you know you need pilots. You need the full shebang. But I like the episode. Go with the episode. Produced by yours truly.
There was a bit of a theme through last week's episode, or whatever you want to call it, shindig,
Episode.
laughathon, about business and just daft things and all the rest of it. But, you know, and Ian said it. He said, sometime down this road, you'll hit on something that'll work. And here's an example which came from the World Service. And this is why I like listening to this kind of stuff. You know, at any given time around the world and our little planet, there are massive, massive cargo ships running crap around the world that we're buying. Like my lovely partner next door. She's probably in there now doing it herself right now. Ding, ding, ding. Let's have one of them. Bang. Amazon it goes into, and whenever soon it comes up. And I mean, they're highly efficient, obviously. But there are ships running around the world's oceans full of containers, full of crap that we're buying. Most of which we don't even need, right? But that's the commercial world we live in, right? We're consumers, and we'll love it, and it's so damned easy in it as well. But here's an interesting story, and it comes back to what you said, Ian, last week about little ideas can end up being damn good ideas. There was one of these big ships ended up in a big storm, and a whole load of these steel containers went over the side. It happens regularly, right? Big insurance claim. This claim and these containers were actually carrying very, very high-end, expensive training shoes. Puma, Nike. I mean, you know, you can pay hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds for these things. But here's something interesting. When they're transported, and Doc, if you're still listening, you may know about this. Well, this is what came out in the story, whether it's true. When they're transported in containers on cargo ships, they put the left shoes in some containers and the right ones in others. They don't pair them up because of theft, because of one thing and another on ports and stuff like this. They don't put them together. Anyway, all these containers go over the side, and invariably, because they're so flipping big and so high, you know, the doors might crack open and all this stuff's going to come out. A lot of it will end up on the sea floor, but not these trainers, because they're made of very lightweight materials. They'll float. So the insurance company or the claims company that was put to task with this claim went, well, hang on, it'll float. There was tens of thousands of them. They're worth a flipping fortune. Even if we could salvage some of it, yes, it'll be grey or second grade, but it'll not really do it any harm being in the seawater for a bit, right? It'll come out, there'll be no worse for wear, and we can still probably flog it. So it might reduce the claim. So they got onto this guy, a university student somewhere in the world, America, I don't know, who was one of these oceanographic dudes, right? Understands all this crap. Dudes. Yeah. So they said, listen, this is Lloyd's Insurance, whoever. This told them the story. Where's this stuff going to end up? And he went, well, give us a day or so and I'll come back here. So he came back and he says, well, actually, it's going to end up on a beach in the Hawaiian island called Matatueo, or words to that effect. And the only reason I can remember that was because that was the name of the island, not that it was the real one. That was the name of the island in the Green Mile. Oh, no, Shawshank Redemption. But anyway, pretty much within a couple of miles, all this shit and these training shoes started washing up on the beach at Matatueo, what it was called, right? So the jury salvaged an awful lot of it to reduce the claim. Everybody's happy. So the next time this happened, they went, well, you need to call him that oceanographic dude because he knows his stuff. So they call him again and they say, well, our issue is this. That's where the thing fell off. Where's it going to end up? Well, because of ocean currents and graphic tides and El Nino and all this stuff, it's going to end up there. And pretty much it did. This guy was good.
BMW bikes came up there, got washed up. Jimmy's saying,
yeah.
I won the last
so anyway, in a fairly short space of time, this kid who was a university clever dude, oceanographic dude, started getting loads and loads and loads of calls from big claims companies and massive insurance corporations. The guy now has turned it into a multi-business, £1 million business. So put
he's certainly got the right foot then, isn't he? Certainly on the right foot. Oh.
He knows his oceanographic thing.
I deserve that one, like.
that's the kind of stories.
I mean, that's what makes this show. We've got this show now. That's what makes this show so special. We're connecting with the people out there. All 8 viewers at the minute. I mean, we're cooking on gas. I'm looking right at you guys just to say, without you, this just wouldn't feel the same. That's all I'm saying. So there you go. What do you reckon, Ian? Up there in Scotland.
Yeah, you're right, Eric. Absolutely spot on. Yeah, but we got some quality people out there.
The time is it?
Hey, that's the Rozzers.
The time.
No, it's the Rozzers,
Oh,
man.
no.
It's the police.
Well,
We better do a runner because we're in the pub, aren't we? We're in the pub. Oh, we're not. So it's a virtual pub.
Like,
it's all right. It's all right.
looks like Ian's already good.
Shut the door, Ian. Shut the door. Shut the door. Shut the door again.
Sorry, I forgot to shut the door again.
Ian, when you used to do lots of sailing, and apart from like more critical times in the navigation of your vessel, did you not listen to a lot of radio and find it quite comforting?
Oh yeah. In fact, what I really used to like, if I was in a little boat having really bad weather at sea, I used to really like listening to Test Match Special. The cricket. It was very soothing. If you were a bit nervous and you thought you were going to die in the next hour or so, there was nothing quite like Test Match Special to calm you down. Very therapeutic indeed. So yeah, I'm with you 100% on listening to the radio. It's very nice. Yeah.
I do remember the first sailing adventure with you, Ian, when you were a lot younger and a little bit less experienced. And it'll be a topic for another conversational day. But you did nearly kill me. And I think we actually sailed through an American Air Force target range, didn't we?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Off the Lincolnshire coast, wasn't it? It was dawn. Dawn was just breaking, and we were about 20 miles or so off the Lincolnshire coast, heading north for Newcastle. And I think I was down below getting some kip, and you were on watch, weren't you? And I remember you shouting down the hatch, saying, Ian, you've got to come and look at this. And there were these A-10 tank busters, weren't they, that were flying towards us. And I had a quick look at the chart there, and you said, oh, we've passed these big yellow buoys a little while back. And I looked on the chart, and there was no mention of these big yellow buoys. But what we eventually figured it out, that it was a military firing range, and these A-10 tank busters were coming along and dropping their bombs, which weren't actually bombs, were they were concrete blocks. But they were dropping these concrete blocks in the ocean, and they flew right over us and dropping their concrete blocks, didn't they? I mean, one of those things that hit us, we'd have been straight down to the bottom. It was scary stuff. But as I recall at the time, though, you showed no sign of nerves whatsoever. You were just really, really excited about these A-10 tank busters coming over us really, really low. It made your day, that, didn't it? I remember.
We've got a lot of comments coming in the chat a minute, Graham, that people have noticed your disco lights in the back, and there's now calls for an impromptu disco. Maybe we'll have to do that one Saturday night, because there seems to be a lot of people saying, get the lights on, disco please, next week, disco at Graham's house.
We're trying to do that on New Year's Eve. We're trying to do it on New Year's Eve, as sad as it may sound. How sad is that? New Year's Eve, we're talking to each other on computers and we're trying to have a disco party. In fact, it must have been quite good here, because apparently there was a massive big shindig across the road or something going on. There was fire engines and police cars and all sorts, and I never heard a thing, because I was in here giving it Whitney. Whoa.
Well, we'll do a live talk from Graham about these. He can talk me through stage by. I mean, I'll show people around my studio, because that'll for the more techie minded. They love that, going down the producer's studio, and you could do a whole thing on your. Oh, he's off. Look, he's off. On your disco thing, you could do a whole thing on your Oh, here we go. Let me put that full on screen. Oh, look at that! Look at that! I mean, that's some impressive kit, that, isn't it? Has that come across on the board from China? Is that
wouldn't.
Is that Wish
That
or
wouldn't
Geek?
float that though.
That Wish or Geek? Because I'll tell you what it is. I bought a few things online, as you well know. I bought a drone, which I was quite looking forward to, because the advert, on Facebook or whatever it was, I Wish showed this drone, and it showed this great thing doing its thing and hand gestures and so on. And when it came, it was about the size. It was about the size of that.
It was about the size of that, wasn't it?
I opened it up and it was about this big, and and I was going, it looked bigger in the picture, and then I also had an issue with if you remember, Graham, I bought a crowbar, because we're going to be doing that van thing of ours, and I bought a crowbar, not taking in much of the size implications of it, and it turned out to be about this big. It was more of a toothpick than a crowbar, and I think I used it as a paint stirrer at the end. So it just didn't get used as a crowbar, because it wasn't quite crowbar-ish, man enough to do the job, if you know what I mean. So you giggled at that, didn't you? My crowbar, you little Jessie.
That thing there. That thing there is a little model of that thing that was in that James Bond film. Remember Little Nelly?
Little Nelly.
Little Nelly, I remember it well.
It was Sean Connery that flew it in real life, because, believe it or not, when I first saw that, I thought, well, that is a real little flying machine. I mean, obviously, the ones that you can get in civilian life don't have rockets on them, but I had one of them, and we used to fly it out of Carlisle Airport. I had a real one. That's actually pretty much similar to what's called a Campbell Cricket, a little gyrocopter. And we had one of them, and we used to fly it, but Eric wouldn't go in it because he was too sad and scary.
No. The thing was, it was the Window on the World festival, and no shields. And you and our Howard, sadly rest his soul, Howard, took a couple of the double seater one or two seater one, and your one down. And I sat in this thing. I mean, this chair is big. It's got arms on it. I sat in this thing. You were literally, there was a thin bit of fiberglass either side of your body, and a small seat sunk in it. And then you were just basically exposed to the world. And he said, "You're not keen." I went, "You're dead right. I'm not keen. Like, I'm not gonna get up on one of these things held up by 3 bits of spinning plastic. You can go and shove it. I'll stick to motorbikes and that kind of thing. But there's no way on God's earth where you can. I mean, like a microlight. You've got a big wing, or something like that. But nah, no way. No. In fact, it was a classic Geordie argument, just using one word. The Geordie no, anyway, no, not I'm not like, no, you've got to be no. It's like two Geordies getting an argument with just one word, no. A couple of syllables. I was going, not a chance. I'm not getting in there.
I'll tell you what, mate, if anybody does like a little bit of a thrill, they're actually very safe machines, believe it or not. They're a lot safer than helicopters, because they don't, well, without getting into the dynamics of how they're working behind the drag, all that. There's actually a guy, and the guy that taught me to fly, and I honestly thought they were just a gimmick, but they're real machines. The guy that taught me to fly it, and you want to check his videos out on YouTube, and it's not a promotional, I'm not promoting him or anything like that. We actually did try to promote the idea and the concept, didn't we, Eric? But it didn't go anywhere. It's such a limited market. But there's a guy up in Carlisle, or he lives in Cumbria. I don't know whether he's still flying at Carlisle, but probably one of the most experienced guys you will ever find that flies these machines. Now, yes, that's a fairly old machine, and yeah, it was made popular in James Bond and all that, with rockets on it and all that, for the point of the film. The more modern machines are a lot easier.
I'm just going to say, just for those that watch it, film's like a movie. Just to help them out with a bit of Geordie.
But just out of sheer interest, they are incredibly good fun. And this guy was called Roger Savage, and he's got a few videos on YouTube. Gyrocopters are also sometimes referred to as gyroplanes. And if you did a search on YouTube for this guy called Roger Savage, a very, very, very experienced pilot and authority on these machines, watching these videos that he's made gives you an idea. I mean, they are unbelievably cool. And he's got these videos and he's flying down near the trees through the Cumbrian hills and all. I mean, he'll take you for a ride, you know what I mean? But I'm getting off the track. I just thought it was a bit of fun. We did that for a while, and it was good fun.
We've got a comment from Jimmy's saying that the fact that I think he's having a go at the fact that this is now a 2 hour 6 minute stream now, and I think we don't put any time limit. We're not putting time limit on this. We'll go until either one of us drops dead. That's probably not a good term, or the beer runs out, or the sheep come back in. Oh, they're back again. So. But it's a bit longer stream.
Gentlemen, Eric, I'm going to have to call time because I've got to go and feed the aforementioned sheep. They're getting a bit demanding, I'm afraid.
We're getting to that time, aren't we? So we're getting to that time, gentlemen, please. Last orders at the bar, and
2 hours is enough. 2 hours is good.
And I think we're going to thank the 8 viewers. 8 viewers. So we'll go back to the 8 viewers we've had this evening. It's been an absolute pleasure to converse with my fellow colleagues. Ian, for those that don't know, is up there in the woolly wells of Scotland. Graham's in North Tyneside, and I'm in County Durham. And you're not far from West Auckland, where the first we didn't talk about football on this channel, but the first won the World Cup in West Auckland in 1901. So technically we should have 2 stars on our shorts because we've won the World Cup twice. Well, apparently the first one didn't count. So we'll do a bit of sum up before I do a little bit of music trimming out with a bit of music out there, and it's one of Graham's choices. So Graham, any last thoughts before we give them a ride on this train?
Well, it's a pleasure as always, gentlemen.
I said Ian. Whoa, Ian. Yeah, I went Ian first. Remember, I'm the producer. I'm the producer.
Oh, sorry, I thought you said Graham.
I said we'll go to Ian first in the order that's on the screen. Let's just
Yeah, come on.
I'm just Ian.
Come on.
Go on in. Over to you, son.
Cheers, gentlemen. It's been a great pleasure. Enjoyed it and looking forward to the same time next week.
Same time next week. Graham, over to you now. Now you can get your bit in.
Likewise, gentlemen and colleagues and friends. I won't use that word colleague in front of Ian because he hates it. I know he does.
Oh, he hates it. Yeah.
If our old friend Doc hasn't fallen asleep yet, absolutely fantastic to hear from you. And we will catch up at some point when things are looking a bit better outside of this current situation. Fantastic, and I hope you will. Yes, right. Gentlemen, we'll do it again next week. Until then.
Well, I'm going to just say thanks very much for. Thanks to me for really putting the whole show together. I don't want to blow me on trumpet, but I'll do just a little bit. And we've had a few delays. We've had a little bit of buffering. The internet's not what it used to be in our little village. But I'm going to play you out with "Ride This Train." So it's goodbye from the Grumpy Geordies. Same time next week. Don't adjust that dial.
Don't panic.
I was doing me, but don't adjust that dial. And we'll see you same time next week.
Cheers, guys.
Past the point of no return, baby, on the summer night. A shot of love and a spark of laughter breathe. The stars align and the month times night burn like a dried out leaf. Are we leaving on the next train, baby? I do believe. Come on, let's ride this train. Come on, let's ride this train. Now I ain't missed a 9 to 5. I don't hear it feel. I'll be